You look at the title of this video and you think, that's not true. I buy the cheapest option all the time. But do you really? You may be attracted to the cheapest price, but most of the time, you don't choose it. In most categories where 3 levels of prices are offered, the cheapest surprisingly captures a small share of the market. Less than 20%, according to a study by McKinsey. Less than 20%. And at the end of this video, I'll show you a product that you buy on a regular basis while willingly paying 5 times more than the cheapest alternative that does exactly the same thing. And I'll explain why. So as a seller, being the cheapest doesn't make you the winner. It makes you the floor price, the reference point for minimum acceptable. Think about the last time you bought an insurance or a mobile plan. You saw 3 options: budget, standard, premium. And you almost automatically avoided the cheapest one. Why? Today, we're both analyzing the consumer's behavior and breaking down the economic and psychological mechanisms why being the cheapest is often the weakest position in the market. And if you influence the pricing decisions in your company, pay attention. Trying to be the cheapest might be the most expensive strategic mistake you'll ever make. Let's break down why. First, we have to understand a fundamental concept in economics: information asymmetry. When you buy something, you don't have all the facts. You don't know the true quality of the product you're buying, but the seller does. So how do you bridge that gap? You use price as a shortcut. You see, price is not just a number on a tag. It works as a signal for you as a buyer, and for the seller, it's a commitment. Think about it. If a company charges a premium, they have everything to lose. High prices create high expectations. If they fail to deliver, the reputational damage is massive. They are literally betting their reputation on that price tag. Low prices don't carry the same risk. If a cheap product fails, you're not surprised. You expected it somehow. So subconsciously, your brain does the math. Expensive signals accountability. Cheap signals weak. The takeaway for any decision maker is simple. When information is incomplete, price becomes the proxy for quality. If you price yourself at the bottom, you're not just discounting value. You're positioning yourself at the bottom. You are signaling uncertainty for your client. In B2B, this effect is even stronger. There's an old saying that says, "Nobody ever got fired for buying IBM." And that sentence reveals something profound about pricing. When you buy as an organization, you don't just evaluate the product. You assess performance, contract terms, competitive benchmarks, cost efficiency. But there's another variable that never appears on the spreadsheet. It's personal risk. Imagine 2 consultants. One charges 5,000 euros. The other charges 50,000. Same promise, same credentials. In high-stake decisions, price becomes a proxy for safety. If the cheaper vendor fails, you will be blamed for making a risky decision that is hard to defend. If the most expensive vendor fails, the vendor is incompetent. But your decision can be more easily justified. Brand and price don't just reduce risk, they reduce personal exposure. So this is not just about economic value, it's about blame management. And when as a vendor you lower your price significantly, you may think you're reducing friction, but you might actually be increasing fear. So here's the paradox. If most people distrust the cheapest option, why does it even exist? Because its job is often not to drive revenue. Its job is to shape perception. Let's take a popcorn example. You have 3 sizes of popcorns: small, $5.90, medium, $6.50, and large, $7.50. The smaller creates a powerful headline: popcorn under $6. That's the hook. But once you're choosing, the 0.6 difference feels minor. And suddenly, the middle feels acceptable. The cheapest option is there to make the middle one feel acceptable. The cheapest tier isn't there to be selected. It exists to attract attention and anchor perception. And it should be the same thing in your company. In your pricing architecture, the lowest tier is often a structural tool, not a revenue driver. And next week, we'll break down exactly why the middle option always wins. But before that, if you're interested in understanding how pricing shapes decision, not just revenue, consider subscribing. And if you find this useful, a like helps the channel grow. Every week, we break down economic and psychological mechanisms behind real-world pricing strategies. Now, on one side you have Ryanair, on the other you have Lufthansa. Ryanair is cheap, sometimes dramatically cheaper. But here's the key difference. Ryanair doesn't position itself as the cheapest Lufthansa. It built an entirely different value architecture. Secondary airports, unbundled services, paid extras, no-frills experience. Its low price is coherent with its model. Now imagine Lufthansa suddenly cutting prices to match their price with Ryanair. What would happen? Margin compression, brand erosion, confused positioning. Lufthansa customers don't buy just transport. They buy reliability, some level of comfort, network, service continuity. If Lufthansa became the cheapest, the signal would break. This is the core lesson. Cheap only works if your entire cost structure and brand architecture support it. Otherwise, you're just discounting, and discounting destroys signal. So low price strategy only works when it's systemic. Otherwise, it's deterioration. Now, a direct message to the pricing decision makers on the field. You may think lowering your price will increase your market share. Sometimes it does. But here's what else it does. Compresses margin, attracts price-sensitive customers, increases churn, weakens perceived quality. And here's the hidden mechanism. Price determines who you attract. And who you attract determines your business model. Cheap customers always demand the most because they are focused on cost rather than value. They treat your service like a commodity. They negotiate more, they drain your support team, they churn the fastest, and they provide the lowest margin on top of that. By positioning yourself as the cheapest, you are literally filling your pipeline with the most toxic clients for your company's growth. So you're not just lowering revenue, you're changing your customer base. Keep in mind that pricing is customer selection. There's something I call the paradox of expertise. A locksmith opens your door in 30 seconds and charges 100 euros. But if he struggles for 1 hour and finally manages to break the lock while charging 100 euros, you feel the price is justified. We as clients are ready to pay for visible effort, but not the outcome. And that bias is irrational. In business, many professionals internalize that bias. They think, I can unlock that door in 30 seconds. It's a low effort. I should charge less. So they price their effort, not their impact. But in companies, serious buyers where purchase decisions are more structured don't buy effort. They pay for the confidence that the problem is going to be solved. When you underprice your expertise because you know that you can solve that complex problem in just 30 seconds, you don't make yourself attractive. You make yourself harder to trust. And trust in the outcome, not the effort, is what companies actually buy. Now let's look at a product that you buy on a regular basis. Painkillers. In almost every country, you can buy ibuprofen or paracetamol for a couple of dollars. Right next to it, on the next shelf, you'll find a branded version. Advil, Nurofen, Doliprane, Tylenol. The active ingredient is the same. The medical effect is the same. 100% identical. But it's priced 3 to 5 times higher. Now, if consumers were purely rational, the branded version would have 0% market share. But it doesn't. In fact, branded versions are largely the most purchased. So why do you willingly pay 5 times the price? If you have a splitting headache before an important meeting, you're not optimizing $3. You're looking for a guarantee. And when the perceived cost of failure exceeds the price difference, you are willing to pay more. You're minimizing risk. In those moments, strong brands matter. Familiar products matter, but price matters too, because price reinforces the signal of trust. Pricing isn't just about affordability. It's about signaling. It's about trust. It's about positioning. In most markets, being the cheapest doesn't make you the leader. It makes you the floor price, the reference point for what feels acceptable. Next week, we'll go further. If the cheapest rarely wins, why does the middle almost always dominate? If you want to understand the mechanisms between real-world pricing strategies, subscribe to the Pricing Club. I'll see you in the next video.